I'm fading into life, draining from her waters, swimming, naming him Walter. Now I'm bathing in her light. I altered on the altar, the daywalker, flaming into the night like fireworks that's vibrating 528 hertz. It's raining, the vibranium is ultra bright. Above my cranium, stars are shooting over. Nibiru exposure, meteor showers, supernovas. The meeting I supposed to write. Walking through the fire that was cold as ice. Poltergeist, took a glimpse into infinity. Saw a blimp that flashed my memories. The airport was empty, a rare quartz Da Vinci. My pen leads symphonies. You'll all perceive eventually. The orchestra of the August love. In the orbits as a foreigner from the coroners. Now she's in the forest with doves. Near lakeside, the waters with suds. Are you able to withstand quicksand on a remote island in the Bermuda Triangle during Mercury retrograde? But I'm verbally electro waves. They're echoes for days. Age, 1 foot in the threshold and 1 foot in the grave. Peaceful, I settle over the metal like sage. God switchblade for any witch or devil I made. I'll carve them up in 7 ways. The carbon dust, fluorescent rays. Placed them in a garden plush after 7 days. The parsing.
Blood and flesh is always so expensive, but when you sacrifice the body, you can get this. Consciousness expanse is exponential, while your union is internal and intensive. Butterfly effect is so connected. You see that I'm a wreck, are you affected? Your energy is here, you're so detected. Your body's gone, it hurts, but I accept it. Bow to all the angels of the sky, and I bow to that one spirit by my side. I bow to the unfathomable Most High. Now if I speak the name, I'd be a lie. Think of all the ones they say moved on. I'd be a fool to think that they are gone. Should be a rule for us to say that they live on. Think it's rude for us to ignore them when it's gone. Thought I saw you in a shadow on the wall. Is that you? I see you standing down the hall. If I could turn back time, I would and make it stall. Help me focus, hold me up, don't let me fall. You are with me. You are with me. Couldn't leave you if I wanted to. Can't you see I wanna stay with you? You are with me. You are with me. Couldn't leave you if I wanted to. Can't you see I wanna stay with you? You are with me. You are with me. Baby, I wanna stay with you. Baby, I wanna stay with you. You are with me. You stay with me. Couldn't leave you if I wanted to. Eternally, I'm gonna stay with you. I'm gonna stay with you. Stay with you. 'Cause you are with me. You are, you stay with me. The angels in the sky. The angel by my side. You are with me.
Yes, Keon, that is me. Good morning, good afternoon, good day. Assalamu alaikum, hotep, namaste, jumbo, ashe. All the greetings and love and light, of love and light to the darkest minds of the light, to the HOK Coliseum. Yes, this is still the Coliseum. Yes, it's rough and tough, but I want to bring this topic up because we may be having Minister Japt in tonight he said he'd come in, but we just have to confirm today. And I thought about it. I just want to do like peace to Hootie, peace Keon, peace Gate Walker 223 Wormley. Peace to everybody. Anyway, I want to go over some things about the psyche and the neurology. So basically the mind of male and female. There's so much that we don't know. I'll just start off with that. There's so much that we don't know about um the brain itself, and there's so much that more that we don't know about uh the differences. We don't know completely. We know there is a difference, some basic things, but we don't know the full extent of differences between the male actual neurology, not even the mind, so to speak. I mean, unless you were talking about neurotransmitters, but and the way the brain reacts to hormones and things of such, right? We don't know fully, but what we can do is just lay some groundwork here, because if you see the title, it says Dispelling Misogyny and Misandry, dispelling these beliefs that some people may not think that they are based in a hatred or in a toxic um mindset. Some people may think, because the way they've been programmed, I'm talking about male and female, that the way they believe a woman should be or the way they believe a man should be, they may not think it's misandry or misogyny or vice versa, but it in fact clearly is. I am going to start with just reading some basic information. I'll start off with some information. What is going on with this? Okay, I'm going to screen share. Just get this out of the way right now, because this is actually this particular doctor and professor, this particular scientist, he's also I believe he's a psychiatrist. Definitely uh this is Nural Shah, Dr. Nural Shah, and he's doing a lot of research along with his colleagues on the infinite amount of differences between the minds of men and women. Okay. And when I say minds, this is going to be neurobiology, but he also obviously relates it to it obviously relates to how the mind works. You get what I'm saying? So without further ado, I just want to jump into these articles right away, because I got a lot here. I don't want to make this long, but I want it to be strong. Okay, so let's start out with this particular article here. Please hit the like button. And if you have not, please subscribe. Now, let's get on this. Let me screen share. And there's not a lot of scientific jargon and different complex terminology, so it's pretty easy to follow. So okay, let's do this. Let me go and read this article. Okay, Two Minds. Neurobiology. This is spring 2017. Yes, it's a while ago, but it's still relevant information. And this is one of the leading, in my opinion, Dr. Shaw is one of the leading researchers in the topic of, male, female minds, or I should say neurology, neurobiology, all of the above, right? So when Nural Shah decided in 1998 to study sex-based differences in the brain using up-to-the-minute molecular tools, he didn't have a ton of competition, but he did have a good reason. Okay, so this is a quote from him. I wanted to find and explore explore neural circuits that regulate specific behaviors. So see how when we talk about neurobiology, he says neural circuits, and then he says behaviors. So it's like the neural circuits obviously regulate specific behaviors, but then there's more to it that leads us into the whys of actions and the whys of the behaviors, which goes back to the neurobiology. Okay, I won't jump in so much. I'll just try to read through this. Okay. My commentary is important, though. It is very important. All right. So let's see here. Says Shaw, he was then a newly minted Caltech PhD who was beginning a postdoctoral fellowship at Columbia. So he zeroed in on sex associated behavioral differences in mating, parenting, and aggression. And I want you to just put a little mental note on the aggression part, especially because that's what we are going to focus on. You know, especially when we talk about the criticisms of the Black woman. Yes, we are relating this to the specific targeted, our demographic of audience is primarily um, so-called Black people and Black Americans, to be more specific. So I want you to just put a pin in the aggression part, okay? No, I'm not saying Black people are more aggressive, but there is a lot of rhetoric out there saying, oh, the Black woman's not feminine. Oh, the Black woman's so aggressive. Oh, the Black woman's so aggressive. But overall, if you really take a step back, it's not only being said about the Black woman today, it's also being said about all American women, starting with Black women, then Caucasian women, then Latina women, Hispanic, and then Asians. And I do want to point out when we hear this whole, oh, she's a Karen, oh, she's a Karen, that translates and is also equated to aggressive behavior. It's just acted out in a different way. Okay. So I digress, meaning I got off track and I'm getting back on track. Okay. So let's see. These behaviors are essential. Wait, whoa. What did I do? Okay. So this is continuing his quote. These behaviors are essential for survival and propagation, says Shaw. Put a pin in that too. So we put a pin in aggression and we put a pin in survival and propagation. Says Dr. Shaw, MD, PhD, now a Stanford professor of psychiatry, yes, and a behavioral sciences and behavioral sciences and neurobiology. So he continues on to say they're innate rather than learned, at least in animals. So the circuitry involved ought to be developmentally hardwired into the brain. These circuits should differ depending on which sex you're looking at. So his plan was to learn what he could about the activity of genes tied to behaviors that differ between the sexes, then use the knowledge to help identify neuronal circuits, clusters of nerve cells in close communication with one another. Okay, so he's still looking at the neurobiology of the brain, underlying those behaviors. At the time, this was not a universally popular idea. The neuroscience community had largely considered any observed sex-associated differences in cognition and behavior in humans to be due to the effects of cultural influences. Animal researchers, for their part, seldom even bothered to use female rodents in their experiments, figuring that the cyclical variations in their reproductive hormones would introduce confounding variabilities into the search for fundamental neurological insights. But over the past 15 years or so, there's been a sea change as new technologies have generated a growing pile of evidence that there are inherent differences in how men's and women's brains are wired and how they work. There's some people out there who don't read. There's one particular sexist male, Yara, who is extremely sexist, extremely chauvinistic, but he tries to feign himself because he even as intelligent as he is knows that to be sexist and to be chauvinistic would put you on a lower level of intelligence. So he feigns as if he is not sexist, as if he's not chauvinistic. Yes, this is don't. By the way, did y'all think this wasn't smoke? I am doing this because we're going to have Minister Jap on, but I have had a few conversations with Yara Black Sage, and he likes to say I don't read because he's very sexist and chauvinistic and misogynistic. And so he says, "Oh, you don't read, Nepal. You don't read." That makes him feel less inferior and less insecure about me being on a, if not a peer level, a superior intelligence level to him. So the reason I'm saying calling him out right now is because he pretends that he knows everything. And when I'm in my lane with this, and I mentioned that there are differences in neurobiological differences with women and men, he said there's no difference whatsoever. Now, granted, if you look at the research and you've done any type of reading on it, there aren't as far as how do you say, trying to link behavior to a stark biological, like a stark neurobiological difference. It The jury's still out, right? The research is still going. So there isn't that type of evidence, but without a doubt, if you even read like this article, even if you read a basic article about the about the human brain and male and female human brain, you would know that there are some inherent, as you see right here, there's evidence that there are inherent differences. So right here, I'm just kicking him in his back because he's saying, "Oh, Nepal, there's no difference in the male brain and the female brain," because he did a quick Google search while I was having a conversation with him, and unfortunately it led him astray, and it said there are no differences basically, as far as if we're going to talk about what the research is still ongoing, but there are, as you're going to see, significant inherent differences in how men's and women's brains are wired and how they work. That means not only the psyche, which I'm going to get to some psychology. Now, we're looking at the neurobiology right now, which the psyche will be discussed, obviously, because they're both, you can't have one without the other. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that he's completely out of his lane trying to talk to me about this because I was trying to help him, saying you really have some issues with chauvinism and sexism, because so many times when I'm on a panel with him, he always starts talking about my gender when it'll be something totally remotely so far away from anything to do with gender. Um, and so, yeah, this is also dedicated to his buffoonery and his ignorance. We want to help him um, get out of his hate for women, basically, for smart women. Because his quote is, this is his quote: "You don't know your place as a woman when you're on the panels doing debates." He literally said that to me. And he also said, "You want to be a man," and he said it on panels when I'm destroying him with information. He said, "You want to be a man, Napa. You want to be a man. That's why you're up here with men arguing." He doesn't exactly say arguing with men, but he's meaning like you're debating men. But then he'll pretend like, "Oh, I'll debate Napa. I'm not averse to. I have no aversion of debating. I have no aversion to debate women." But he absolutely does when a woman is smarter than him on topics. Yes, I said it. It's out there. So let me get back to this paper. But yeah, I needed to just say that because we need to stop. He doesn't even realize that he's being misogynistic. And this isn't me bashing him, obviously. He can be pleasant most of the time if you're not beating him up on his information. But once you beat him up on his information, he goes straight to, if you're a woman, he'll go straight to uh, gender bashing, um, saying disparaging things about me as a woman, calling me a broad, all of the above. Okay. Yeah. So back to Dr. Shaw and the research and the article. So, okay. Not how well they work, mind you. Our differences don't mean one sex or the other is better or smarter or more deserving. Some researchers have grappled with charges of neurosexism, falling prey to stereotypes, or being too quick to interpret human sex differences as biological rather than cultural. So we don't want to fall into an even deeper bias when we do this research. If you are a man hater, you don't want to fall into a deeper bias if you find things that might feed into your schema about men being aggressive and violent. And also if you see things about women, and you don't and you have already are misogynistic like Yara, you don't want to take information and feed it into your schema to make you to even deepen or solidify your bias, your sexism, your belief against whatever gender you are adverse to. Yes, I said adverse. Okay. So falling prey to stereotypes or being too quick to interpret human sex differences as biological rather than cultural. They counter, however, that data from animal research, cross cultural surveys, natural experiments, and brain imaging studies demonstrate real, if not always earth shaking, brain differences, and that these differences may contribute to differences in behavior and cognition. Behavior differences. In 1991, just a few years before Shaw launched his sex differences research, Diane Halpern, PhD, past president of the American Psychological Association, began writing the first edition of her acclaimed academic text, Sex Differences in Cognitive Abilities. She found that the animal research literature had been steadily accreting reports of sex-associated neuroanatomical, and behavioral differences. Let's see here. Oh, no. Neuroanatomical, excuse me. So sex-associated neuroanatomical and behavioral differences, but those studies were mainly gathering dust in university libraries. Social psychologists and sociologists poo-pooed the notion of any fundamental cognitive differences between male and female humans. Notes Halpern, a professor emerita of psychology and Claremont McKenna College. Okay. Let's see here. In her preface to the first edition, Halpern wrote, quote, "At the time, it seemed clear to me that any between sex differences in thinking ability were due to socialization practices, artifacts, and mistakes in the research, and bias and prejudice. After reviewing a pile of journal articles that stood several feet high and numerous books and book chapters that dwarfed the stack of journal articles, I changed my mind." Close quote. Why? There was too much data pointing to the biological basis of sex-based cognitive differences to ignore, Halpern says. For one thing, The animal research finding resonated with sex-based differences ascribed to people. These findings continue to accrue. So basically, they're like, wait a minute, back then, people were like, it's just cultural or behavioral. But then they're finding, no, it's not just that. It's hardwired in the person's mind, and I mean, in the person's brain. For one thing, the animal research findings resonated with, excuse me, sex based differences ascribed to people. These findings continue to accrue. In a study of 34 rhesus monkeys, for example, males strongly preferred toys with wheels over plush toys, whereas females found plush toys likable. That's very similar to humans. That's very similar to humans. It would be tough to argue that monkeys' parents bought them sex type toys on that simian society, or that simian societies encourage its male offspring to play with more trucks. See, that's what humans try to say. They say, oh, well, it's a learned behavior for girls to play with dolls, and for boys to want to play with trucks and war type toys that look like things of war. But no, you can see that the monkeys, it's reflected in the monkeys as well. So, a much more recent study established that boys and girls 9 to 17 months old, an age when children show few, if any, sign of recognizing either their own or other children's gender, sex. Get it? So they don't, not from age 9 to 17 months, they don't know boy, girl. Nonetheless, these babies show marked differences in their preference for stereotypically male versus stereotypically female toys. Very interesting. Halpern and others have cataloged plenty of human behavioral differences. Quote, these findings have all been replicated, she says. Women excel in several measures of verbal ability, pretty much all of them, except for verbal analogies. Women's reading comprehension and writing ability consistently exceed that of men on average. So, Yara, when you continue, when I'm beating you up to say, I don't read, that's a sexist, chauvinistic, disparaging way for you to amplify your insecurity that a woman who reads on basically on the same level as you, see, I'm not being disparaging. A woman who researches and reads on the same level as you, uh, research says that women's ability of writing and reading exceeds that of men on average. But you want to amplify your insecurity by attacking me whenever I'm beating you up on hardcore facts. And you like to say, "Oh, you don't read." That's just you being sexist and insecure and misogynistic. Obviously, I read. I read as much, if not more, than you. Not according to me, according to science. I won't drop any bombs right now. But yeah, Yara. Women outperform men in tests of fine motor coordination and perceptual speed. They're more adept at retrieving information for long term memory. Oh, Yara. Sit back and learn. Okay? That's all you got to do. Sit back and learn. All right? Men on average, now we're going to talk about men. Now remember, what I was doing right now wasn't being sexist. What I'm doing is dispelling. Let me say it again. Dispelling. I am here to dispel Yara's misogynistic beliefs about women, that we don't read and that we don't know our place when we're busting piñatas on information based on our research. And by the way, shout out to Naphtali. Yes, I will debate Naphtali in the future, I'm sure, because we don't agree on everything. But she is killing. I checked her out lately. She is destroying a lot of men who are up in there trying to say, because she's a woman, she shouldn't be teaching. And I'm not just talking about the Canaanite. I'm not talking about the Canaanite stuff. I watched a show that she did, one of her streams. She went in and grabbed the information. Yes, the information on Saturn, 100%, the Star of David. Am I saying it's evil? No, I don't think it's evil. She does. But what the problem is that some Israelites were trying to tell her it's in no way linked to Saturn. And just basic information anybody would know that there is a link to Saturn and the so-called Star of David, aka Star of Remphan. Who doesn't know that? So shout out to her for destroying the piñatas of those who are very misogynistic, who teach that women shouldn't be able to teach, who teach that women should know their place. Yara, you said I don't know my place. Okay. You said that I want to be a man when I'm up on the panels debating because you're misogynistic. So I'm dispelling your misogyny. Okay. And we're going to dispel some misandry as well. Men, on average, can more easily juggle items in working memory. They have superior they have superior visual spatial. Thank you. That's a tongue twister for me with the word superior. They have superior visual spatial skills. So they can, they can look in a room or look around them and see that, okay, this is about the depth of this is about 6 feet, 9 feet. It's 9 by 10 or 12 by 8, whatever. They can, women do it too. This isn't saying women or men can't do the things like read or write or have great visual, oh my God, visual spatial skills. Visual spatial skills are, they're not just limited to men, but men are superior to women when it comes to visual spatial skills. It's just a fact. They're better at visualizing what happens when a complicated 2 or 3 dimensional shape is rotated in space. That's why they're very good at building. That's why they're good at being carpenters. That's why they're good at being architects. That's why they're good at being a lot. Even archery and everything. Men and women across the board, but men are superior. They are. They're better at visualizing what happens when a complicated 2 or 3 dimensional shape is rotated in space. At correctly determining angles from the horizontal, that's what they're better at, and at tracking moving objects and at aiming projectiles. Duh. That's manly. So Yara, let me tell you something. When you said I'm acting like a man when I'm beating your behind, whipping your ass on panels, you're actually wrong because it says that women have better long-term memory, better reading comprehension, better writing ability, and they outperform men in tests of fine motor coordination and perceptual speed. We're more adept at retrieving information. So you're wrong, Yara. If you're going to be sexist, I don't want to be. I don't. But we have to dispel your misandry. If you're going to be sexist, then me retrieving information for it and debating would be a feminine thing if we're talking about neurobiology. But it's across the board, people can do. They can be, they can excel. But since you are so stuck on my gender, which not just you, Yara, a lot of men are, they just don't say it because they know they will look bad. A lot of men who come into these spaces, they use that whole, I don't debate women because they are sexist and because they are misogynistic and chauvinistic. and they think women's places are on their backs in the bedroom, spread eagle, uh, on squatting, having a baby, or laying back with the baby coming out of her. You think our places are in the kitchen and on the sideline cheering you on. Now, all of that is a woman's place, but that's not our only place. Okay? Right. Let's see here. Navigation studies in both humans and rats show that females of both species tend to rely on landmarks. Now, we know this for a fact when we're going somewhere, right, everybody? If it's a man and a woman and you're trying to find a look like a destination, males are more typically relying on dead reckoning. So they need to know exactly coordinates, right? The coordinates, but women, oh, and they calculating one's position by estimating the direction and distance traveled rather than using landmarks. Yeah, men need to know exactly what's going on, where we will be like, okay, there was a red barn. Okay, make a left at that one windmill, the one with the broken uh I don't know, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Okay. New technologies have generated a growing pile of evidence that there are inherent differences in how men's and women's brains are wired and how they work. Many of these cognitive differences appear quite early in life. You see sex differences in spatial visualization ability in 2 and 3 month old infants. Halpern says, infant girls respond more readily to faces and begin talking earlier. Boys react earlier in infancy to experimentally induced perceptual discrepancies in their visual environment. In adulthood, women remain more oriented to faces, men more oriented to things. So, Yara, I hope you're learning. Okay. All these measured differences are averages derived from pooling widely varying individual results, excuse me. While statistically significant, the differences tend not to be gigantic. They are most noticeable at the extremes of a bell curve rather than in the middle where most people cluster. Some argue that we may safely ignore them. But so again, see, it's not like this is like, oh my gosh, there's so many stark differences between men and women. Oh, there's such a chasm between us that we can't see ourselves as the same. Just men being men and women being women, all one species. And it's not. This isn't what this is about. It's to understand how we are, um, how our neurology, how our neurobiology makes us behave. It helps us in our interactions, right? The long list of behavioral tendencies in which male female ratios are unbalanced extends to wait, but the long list of behavioral tendencies in which male female ratios are unbalanced extends to cognitive and neuropsychiatric disorders. Women are twice as likely as men to experience clinical depression in their lifetimes. Likewise, for post traumatic stress disorder, men are twice as likely to become alcoholic or drug dependent and 40% more likely to develop schizophrenia. Boys, dyslexia, so this is a like boys dyslexia rate, like the ownership of the possession, it's possessive boys. Boys dyslexia rate is perhaps 10 times that of girls, and they're 4 or 5 times as likely to get a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Could underlying biological differences, subtle though they may be for most of us, help explain these gaping between sex imbalances in the prevalence of mental disorders and account for the cognitive and behavioral differences observed between men and women? Let's see. How our brains differ. The neuroscience literature shows that the human brain is a sex typed organ. Oh, yes, that is the research that Dr. Shaw has done. And there's some fascinating research about sex that they've done in rodents. Um, I'm not bringing this out yet because I have to finish reading it, but basically, the female brain has neural pathways that can be activated. And this is in comparison, or I should say, contrast to the male brain. They have neural pathways that actually are basically human males and human, well, rodents and humans. They've researched, they see it's in humans as well. So let me just take my time with this. You can tell I'm excited about this, so I'm kind of fumbling. Research shows, Dr. Shaw's research, that there is no difference in certain pathways when it comes to human females. Certain pathways that are found in the male brain are present in the human brain, female brain. Goodness gracious, girl, you done mixed everybody all up. Okay. Certain neural pathways that are found in the male for the male brain, okay, are also found in the female brain. You might be like, duh, but guess what? If they are activated, because in the female brain, they are often not activated. I'm really telling you so basic layman, but in the female brain, if they are activated, then she will exhibit aggressive behavior, especially starting with sexual behavior. Isn't that wild? Like thrusting behavior. It's just mad. For me, that's fascinating because it's like, and that goes back to um this information that I usually teach about the woman being like, how do I say it? People say, oh, well, the woman wasn't the first and first being, and yeah, she was. And I'm going to continue to try to do more research on that. I can't just bring it out. Obviously, you saw how I destroyed it. I just broke it all up into pieces. I didn't really get into because I haven't finished reading the information, the paper on it, but I will. So I super went off. Sorry, I digress. I went off track. So let's get back to this. So the neuroscience, I'm going to read this over. The neuroscience literature shows that the human brain is a sex-typed organ with distinct anatomical differences in neural structures and accompanying physiological differences in function, says UC Irvine professor of neurobiology and behavior Larry Cahill, PhD. Cahill edited the 70 article January/February 2017 issue of the Journal of Neuroscience Research, the first ever issue of any neuroscience journal devoted entirely to the influence of sex differences on nervous system function. All right. So, brain imaging, I'm reading this article all the way through. I didn't really look in the chat. Sorry, y'all, because I just want to get this information out for you. Um, Instead of saying, no, go read this on your own. But I mean, I have a couple other things I actually want to read. But this one is very good. I really wanted to read this. This one. Let me see. I'm almost done. I'm going down here. Maybe I should skip, huh? Let me see. Let me see if I should I don't want to bore anybody if I am. Okay, let me see here. So I already was on this. How our brains differ. Oh, yeah, this is important, right? Well, there's some other stuff. Okay, let me read this. Brain imaging studies indicate that these differences extend well beyond the strictly reproductive domain, Cahill says. Adjusted for total brain size, men's brains are bigger. Women's hippocampus, critical, a woman's hippocampus, critical to learning and memorization, is larger than a man's and works differently. But according to Yara, If I'm up here reciting information or doing anything, any research, I want to be a man. Conversely, a man's amygdala, associated with the experiencing of emotions and the recollection of such experiences, is bigger than woman's. It too works differently as Cahill's research has demonstrated. In 2000, Cahill scanned the brains of men and women viewing either highly aversive films or emotionally neutral ones. Now, this is where they were showing them some stuff that that's basically stuff that was disturbing, aversive, right? They showed in 2000, they did some research and they showed these men and women highly aversive films or emotionally neutral films. So, so can you guys hear me? I hope so. The aversive films were expected to trip off strong negative emotions and concomitant imprinting in the amygdala. So basically, they when they got the negative emotions, concomitant imprinting would be like along with these negative emotions, there is an imprinting in the amygdala. Get it? So along with the emotions, when they viewed the films that were aversive, they had an imprinting in the amygdala, which is an almond-shaped structure found in each brain hemisphere. Activity. Now, this is pretty interesting. If you guys were falling asleep or just zoning out while you work, listen to this. Activity in the amygdala during the viewing experience, as expected, predicted subjects' later ability to recall the viewed clips. But in women, this relationship was observed only in the left amygdala. In men, it was only in the right amygdala. Cahill and others have since confirmed these results. Discoveries like this one should ring researchers' alarm buzzers. Women, it's known, retain stronger, more vivid memories of emotional events than men do. They recall emotional memories more quickly, and the ones they recall are richer and more intense. If, as is likely, the amygdala figures into depression or anxiety, any failure to separately analyze men's and women's brains to understand their different susceptibilities to either syndrome would be as self defeating as not knowing left from right. So basically, the things that irritate men about women, like, "Oh, why are you bringing that up? Oh, that happened so long ago. Oh, why are you still talking about that?" Yes, you can be seen. I see you, Black Jesus, Buddha. So it's like that's our brains are basically wired to be able to bring this stuff up and remember it very, very vividly. The two hemispheres of woman's brain talk to each other more than a man's brain does. In 2014, in a 2014 study, I should say, University of Pennsylvania researchers imaged the brains of 428 males and 528 female youths, an uncharacteristically huge sample. And they found that the females' brains consistently showed more strongly coordinated activity between hemispheres, while the male's brain activity was more tightly coordinated within local brain regions. This finding, a confirmation of results in smaller studies published earlier, tracks closely with others' observations that the corpus callosum, the white matter capable that crosses and that crosses and connects the hemisphere. So that line down the middle of the brain, y'all, that's the corpus callosum. That white matter capable, that white matter cable, my bad. So, when you see both the left and the right hemisphere or vice versa, and then you see that separation, that line down the middle is a cable. I said capable, my bad. That cable that separates them is the corpus callosum. And you know what? In a lot of epileptic sufferers, people who have grand mal seizures that are very debilitating, and they affect the quality of the person's life, they have that cut. There's some fascinating research on that as well, some brain research, but not today. Let's get back to this. The white matter cable that crosses and connects the hemispheres, the corpus callosum, is bigger in women than in men. Even though, look at this, even though the male brain is bigger, the woman's brain, the female's corpus callosum, is bigger. Think about that. It is bigger in women than in men, and that women's brains tend to be more bilaterally symmetrical than men's. Oh, Yara, you said that there's no difference in a female brain and a male brain. You must feel silly, especially when you go around pretending to know about this stuff. Granted, I'm just a layman like everyone else, but for somebody to be so sexist and keep talking about my gender, I think this is what triggers him when I put stuff like this. When you bring this information, when you have a man like Yara and a lot of other men who say women can't teach, and oh, you want to be a man, you're trying to dominate men by teaching. A lot of these men equate their virile, like how virile they are, to how much information they can teach and that they know. And you shouldn't do that, because it's not a male or a female thing. That's low vibrational, and it is something that we need to dispel. We need to break away from that lie that because a woman is smarter than you or knows more information on a topic than you do, that doesn't take away your masculinity. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. That doesn't take away you as a man. Those things aren't what make you a man. Being able to tell me that the corpus callosum is larger in women than it is in men doesn't say, wow, you're such a man. But I'd say 90% of the men who are in these forums, especially the older ones, they think that equates to them on how much of a man they are. So when a woman like me, or a woman like Sister Wise, or a woman like Naphtali or Sakina Ra, or the list goes on and on, Jaja Ali, if a woman comes in and knows something more than them, to them it's an affront on their masculinity. It's an affront on their male ego. And that's not our fault as women who are informed. It's something that you have to break out of. Me knowing something more than you doesn't make you less than a man. It just makes you not as smart as me. Oh my gosh, I can't. Okay, let me get back to this paper. And that's okay, because there are so many men who are so much smarter than me. It doesn't make me feel less than a woman. There's so many women who are so much more smarter than me. Or it's more smarter. See? I said more smarter. That's not correct. I should say there's so many more men who are smarter than me. There you go. There's so many more women who are smarter than me. Much smarter. There you go. See, I corrected myself. But I'm sure there's some things that I've said wrong that I could be corrected on by a man. Not by Yara. No, that ain't gonna work, because too many times I've beat his butt. But there's several men out there who can correct me. Several. Want me to ramble off a list? Huh? Jabari. Let's see who else. Sonnetter, of course. Sonnetter has corrected me infinite amount of times. Let's see who else. Well, that's all I got. I'm just kidding, y'all. I'm just joking, y'all. Lots of people have corrected me. Let me see what we got here. Suntan, peace to you. Let's see. Okay, a Misandra's teaching you Misandry. See, let's show this. See, this is a man who doesn't like women. He's a woman hater. We're gonna call it like we see it. There's nothing I've done besides read an article. So this is a man who thinks because I'm smarter than some of these men. Peace, Cedric. I almost said you, Cedric, when I said correct, but I was like, no, Cedric hasn't corrected me. But Cedric is one of these men in these forums, which I said this, and this is not to, I am definitely, I'm not flattering you. Cedric and Ankh, as much as I have gone against the pseudo killers, they have never been sexist toward me or said, oh, you're a dumb woman or you want to be a man. So I mentioned that to Sonnetter when I had this conversation that I was going to do this stream. So I salute you and I salute Ankh for that. They don't attack your gender even when you're in a heated conversation or debate with them. They don't start telling you, oh, you want to be a man or you're and I have to say this, it is often a lot of men who are of the Abrahamic faith, especially I will say Hebrew Israelites, of course, first. They are they are worse than Western Islam when it comes to I don't know. I take that back. I think it's neck and neck. Hebrew Israelites and a lot of Islamic men who do have an issue with women teaching. Some of them don't. Many of them don't. But a lot of men of that Abrahamic faith, they have a real issue with chauvinism and even misogyny. Okay, so shout out to yeah, information has no gender. Thank you. Exactly. So this article is pretty interesting. Um, I got to get to some other stuff, but this is pretty interesting, this article. And more than the article, though, if you really want to delve into this, somebody who like reads the scientific papers, like I'm talking to Cedric and anyone else who wants to actually go to the work of Dr. Shah, that's who I'm focusing on. Like he has some very good information, very good research on the differences. A lot of his research does um unveil, if we could say, or enlighten us about how like sexual function between the two sexes. So yeah, this is an article, Stanford Medicine Magazine, Two Minds, but I'm gonna stop screen sharing this and I want to get to this information. Now we talked about we went over the neurobiology, right? A little bit. Let's get to some of the information that I have here on Carl Jung about archetypes. Let's see here. Ooh, this is a good article too. For me, it's a little bit outdated, but so that's why I'm not going to share it. Some of the stuff that I was looking at to share, the researchers and the scientists and they are still relevant, but some of their work is like too old. Like this is from 2004. That's a little bit too, for me, so much more has been discovered. That doesn't mean it's not relevant information, but anyway, I think basically that one article from the Stanford magazine, that's enough, or Stanford Medicine. And then I can go into the psyche, the actual psyche. Now, the title says psyche for whatever reasons. I'm limited with YouTube, but I did want to start with as we did like a little bit about the neurobiology, like the actual brain. So now I want to share. I want to get this. Where is it? I wanted to read this information. Ooh, should I read this about sexual differences in the neural correlations of aggression? Correlates sex differences in the neural correlates of aggression. Nah, I'll keep that because the reading is getting boring. I know. Let's see here. I am so tired of ads. Okay, yes. First, I want to read these are just articles. This is this isn't a debate like, oh, show me the primaries. The primaries would be you actually going and researching Carl Jung's work, right, everybody? So, this, however, is an article by, let me read this. Who is this by? It's a lot of stuff in here too. Let me tell you a little bit about this author, if I can find it, of this article. One moment, please. Hit the like button, y'all. Hit the like button, y'all. Uh, where is it? I can't find it for some reason. Let me see. Give me a minute. I'm here. I should be. I'm looking for something, or else I would have read your comments in the chat. Okay. Huh. Let's see. I just want to get something basic on. This guy here. Let's see. Nah, I just want to read something basic on Carl Jung and anima versus animus, which basically, let me just find it though. Give me a minute, please. Oh my gosh. Let's just get this article here. It was updated July 2025. Okay. I don't see the author in here. I mean, again, this is going to be an article about Carl Jung's archetypes and Carl Jung's work. Carl Jung's work about the psyche, women and men, and so anima versus animus will be interesting. Just something we can insert into our conversations instead of just trying to like always bash each other on, and tell each other, you should be this way, you should be that way. I thought we might get some Jungian input, right? I can't see the author, but whatever. Just you can do your research on Carl Jung. All right. If you don't have any of his work or read anything from him, the late Carl Jung. Okay, how to differentiate between anima and animus energies. This is anima and animus is exclusively Carl Jung, okay, and his psychological assessments and his in the study of psychology. Let me just read it, okay? Duh. So I just want to make it clear that anima and animus is from Carl Jung and his body of work. So in this, I didn't screen share it. My bad. Sorry, guys. Let me see if you guys are bored out of your minds. He is a bit outdated, Young. Of course you would say so. Listen to me, sir. He is definitely a classic. All right. I like to call him classic, but I'm really gonna go off of his assessment of how we our female, how do you say, like the way a man's mind will this is now this isn't Carl Jung. how we have the epitome of a man in our minds as women, and then a man has an epitome of a woman, like the ultimate best woman in their minds. Now, I might be slaughtering this, but we often seek out that type of person, or project that type of person. But don't take it from me. I get it. You think he's outdated, and I appreciate that. Let's listen to just let's educate people who haven't read Carl Jung, and they're not familiar with it. Let's let them decide. And yeah, he is. I mean, for me, there's a lot more, obviously, in the field of psychology. A lot has come forward. Obviously, we're doing the research on the brain itself. So yeah, there's I knew somebody was going to say something like this. I don't know why I didn't know it would be you. He's not outdated. Okay, we wouldn't use that, because we still reference the work of Freud. We say ego. We say, what do we say? Don't be so anal about things, like, super anal. So we still use Freudian terms to describe people's behaviors. So I wouldn't exactly say outdated, but there's definitely been information that came out that it would make some of this, is you'd be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. We've already Why am I going on and on about this? Okay, Cedric. Okay, duly noted. Let's get to Carl Jung, though, because this is pretty relevant. I think this is still relevant when we talk about the archetypes, especially when we talk about how to differentiate between anima and animus energies. Thank you for your input. Okay, in the study of psychology, particularly within the framework established by Carl Gustav Jung, the concepts of anima and animus, I think this will be helpful, actually. I think that helping people, kind of with these concepts, they will be like, oh, okay, I get it. So anyway, I digress. The concepts of anima and animus hold significant importance for understanding the unconscious aspects of human personality. These terms represent the unconscious feminine and masculine qualities present within every individual. So you remember I said so there's two sides to this, my interpretation. And I'm sure it's not unique. I'm sure a lot of people also interpret it this way. Having the epitome in my mind, I have formed the epitome of the best male, right? And that also comes out in my, how do you say, it also will manifest itself in a male psyche, kind of like a sub psyche, if you could put it that way. Like that particular male, or those masculine, the unconscious feminine and masculine qualities that are present within every individual, that would be like, how do you say, my male mind. Get it? Okay. That was my take on it. But getting back to this, okay? So, regardless of their biological sex, learning to differentiate between anima and animus energies can provide profound insights into personal development, emotional balance, and the path toward individuation, the process of becoming a whole integrated self. Okay. This article delves deeply into the nature of anima and animus energies, explores their characteristics, manifestations, and influence on behavior, and provides practical guidance on how to recognize and work with these inner archetypes. Understanding anima and animus, a Jungian foundation. So, as I said, this is exclusively Carl Jung. If like You saw Cedric say, okay, he's outdated. Some people are like, oh, that doesn't help me. I don't subscribe to that. Moving right along. So take the meat, put the bones on the side. All right. Carl Jung introduced the concept of anima and animus as part of his theory of archetypes and the collective unconscious. According to Jung, anima is the unconscious feminine aspect present in the psyche of men. So that's according to Jung, there's an unconscious feminine aspect in your male. If you are biologically male, you have a feminine aspect present in your psyche. Now, remember I said that would be your ideal woman, right? But it also would not just be like a fantasy. You would start. It's like a type of. It's linked to some behaviors, I should say. But again, that's my take on it. Let me stop ad-libbing, right? Animus is the unconscious masculine aspect present in the psyche of women. All right. So these energies are not merely reflections of gender, but they're symbolic representations of complementary qualities that everyone carries within themselves. I haven't read this article, but it's pretty good so far. I just couldn't find the author. All right. Anima and animus influence emotions, thoughts, relationships, creativity, intuition, reasoning, and even spirituality. The role of anima. Anima represents qualities traditionally associated with femininity, such as emotion, receptivity, intuition, nurturing, sensitivity, and imagination. It acts as a bridge between the conscious mind and the deeper layers of the unconscious for men. When a man embraces his anima energy, now remember I said that's his ideal woman, and I just thought of something when you say it's outdated. Yeah, partially it would be outdated because we have all this new information about intersex, and we have all this other stuff going with like how I'm just going to throw intersex out there. So I would say you're absolutely right about it being not as up to date, or I mean you could still try to shoehorn it in like if you're dealing with intersex, but yes, because this is basically with Jung. He's like, we've got the male and we've got the female, the end. Get it? So let me read this again. So, anima represents the qualities traditionally associated with femininity, such as emotion, receptivity, intuition, nurturing, sensitivity, and imagination. It acts as a bridge between the conscious mind and the deeper layers of the unconscious for men. When a man embraces his anima energy, he becomes more in touch with his feelings and intuitive insights. The role of animus. Conversely, animus embodies traits conventionally linked to masculinity like logic, assertiveness, rationality, courage, willpower, decisiveness. For women, engaging with their animus can foster confidence in expressing ideas clearly, like debating, taking initiative, and setting boundaries. Make a decision. Which one do you want? You know how we can't do that, ladies. Like, oh, I don't know. I end up buying both, and that's not good for my budget. So, yeah. By integrating, you know how men will go to the store and you'll be like, okay, go get some milk. And they will go to the store and come back with milk, and that's it. You tell a woman, go to the store, get some milk. She'll come back with 4 bags of groceries. Yeah. By integrating these archetypal, I always mess this word up. Archetypal. Yes, I think it's archetypal. Let me check. Archetypal. Give me one moment. I gotta check it. And you know what else I mess up, y'all? I always say archangel, and I think it's archangel, but I can't seem to break out of it. Archetypal. Let me see. Hold on. It won't work. Why? Oh, I know why. Hold on.
Archetypal.
There it is.
Archetypal.
Archetypal. Am I echoing? Am I echoing? Let me see if I'm echoing, y'all. Oh, I'm good. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Santan. Okay, let me finish reading this. I think it's interesting. I mean, again, yeah, the more I think about it, see, you kind of sparked my mind. You're right. It is, of course, it's outdated. I mean, obviously, but there is still some very useful tips, so to speak, like just to get the mind, just to like spark the mind at least. Um, I want to share this. Everybody should read something about some work of Carl Jung. I mean, there's so many books and articles out there, and I'm partial to Carl Jung, by the way. So, um, where was I? Key differences between anima and animus energies. While both, I think I read that already, right? Did I finish? Did I finish? Wait. By integrating, oh yeah, archetypal. Oh, that's where I was. By integrating these archetypes. Oh, and let me read. Let me tell you what that is. By the way, okay. Since I looked it up, it's very typical of a certain kind of person or thing. So that's why he said these are archetypes, very typical of a person of a certain kind or thing. These are archetypes, and this is archetypal. That word for some reason. Maybe because English is my second language. No, it isn't. I'm just kidding. English is my first language, y'all. Um, Let me see here. By integrating these archetypal energies consciously rather than rejecting or being overwhelmed by them unconsciously, individuals can achieve psychological balance. So basically, it's like embrace this ideal woman or this ideal man, whatever sex you are. Like if you're a man, embrace those qualities. Embrace those so-called feminine qualities. And it is very true. It is very true. They become toxic like men when we say the effeminate when men become effeminate, it's because um they may not be ironically how do you say they're not embracing their ideal femininity. They may be mimicking um a behavior, a feminine behavior that is, how do you say, obvious and um how do you that's okay, like a feminine behavior like, being sexy, like switching or having, like f- um flexing like the wrist, like bending the wrist and snapping up. Like that isn't even their ideal feminine, but they see that that gets results. That gets the results. And I'm not even saying same sex desire. I'm not saying in like a sexual preference as far as who they have intercourse with or uh, let me take that word out of there. Who they have sex with, okay? So, um, so being immature right now. Stop. Okay, this is a serious build right now. So, I'm talking about even certain like boys who aren't even sexual, like let's say prepubescent prepubescent boys. No, see, when I'm talking about the anima and the versus the animus. So I'm talking about anima for the male, right? So the male would have an ideal feminine or an ideal woman in mind, and therefore embrace positive feminine traits that we those characteristics that we talked, that the list, right? Nurturing, receptive, right? Those are not toxic traits, and they're definitely not effeminate, right? However, there there are traits that are feminine traits, or characteristics, I should say, that men will mimic, that will be seen as a feminization. Again, wearing wearing eyelashes and make like red lipstick, and these are these are like socially norm surface feminine traits. Okay, the appearance, like how they would dress, like cross-dressing or switching, or just, like rolling his neck like girl, and things like that. That would be, for whatever reason, these males are embracing those very shallow characteristics of female, right? They're embracing that because, and they very well may be heterosexual. A lot of times we don't talk about that. They are heterosexual. Now, I said the extreme, like putting on makeup and stuff and like two snaps up, but there are also traits where they are very soft spoken, the way they have voice inflections that seem feminine. These are still surface traits that people would say, oh, he's effeminate. And yes, those are classified as effeminate traits. And the reason the male might be embracing that or acting that way, behaving that way, as I was going to say, is there's several reasons, but one of the main reasons would be that as a developmental male, as a youth, prepubescent, they did not actually receive the nurturing. I know this sounds wild, and you might be like, that doesn't make any sense. It does. They didn't receive the type of nurturing and the type of secure attachment that they needed to receive in home. And somehow they saw that these actions that are not social norms, like the makeup and the snapping and being effeminized, that they saw, oh, that gets attention, that gets positive reinforcement. Like I get what I want when I act like this. I get loved. I get, I have, I feel more self-worth. So that's something I went off in a tangent with that, but I just wanted to just really make a clear distinction between anima being feminine traits that are not really exclusive. They're characteristics that are not exclusive to human females. Nurturing isn't exclusive to human females, but it is a characteristic. And why isn't it exclusive? Because males have, if we're going back to the Jungian research and um, the teachings of Carl Jung, because males they can behave and embrace their anima, which is their female psyche, right? The archetype, that's their female side. So they can embrace their womanly side. And even when men hear that, they're like, this sounds gay. I ain't listen to this. But it's like all of us have these behaviors that we can tap into because we interact. Even if you weren't securely attached, you do still know. And hopefully you're not a psychopath. So I'm excluding psychopaths because they don't have the ability. But other than a psychopath, if you are not securely attached or you weren't, you still know what nurturing is. You long for it. You may have been neglected. So what you do with as a male with your anima, you set your ideal woman. Remember, I said you have the epitome of what the ideal woman is in your psyche, and you also can embrace that ideal woman in your behavior, in things you do. It's like kind of like you check yourself, like if you feel as a male you're being too uh like maybe not empathic, or even maybe you're being apathetic, you would just be like, let me tap into my feminine side. Let me tap into my anima. So, okay, if you don't want to use Carl Jung, it's just your feminine side, like your feminine psyche, right? So, anyway, by integrating these archetypal energies consciously rather than rejecting, see, you embrace it, or being overwhelmed by them unconsciously, like, oh my gosh, I'm so depressed as a man and I don't know what to do. Instead of doing that, individuals can achieve psychological balance by just embracing them and actually staying in tune with your, if you're a woman, be in tune. Whoa, stop that. No, scratch that. Stop, slam on the brakes. Nope, I got to get to the woman part. Because women are, because of the society that we're in, women have been embracing their animus and um also doing the masculinization of women is out there too. Yes. So we have the effeminization of men and the masculinization of women, and there's a lot to unpack because women are in a society where they are for so long women have been unprotected, um in and like exposed, unstable when it comes to their counterpart, which is males. I'm talking on a heterosexual relationship level, by the way. And I don't mean relationship like, oh, I love you, baby, I love you too. I mean interacting, males and females interacting. Okay. So if you are in the same sex relationship, that doesn't mean you don't interact with males. So you still are a female and you still interact with males, and there are still behaviors that you cannot avoid. So anyway, I kind of just went off the rails, didn't I? But it was important for me to do so. While both and key differences between anima and animus energies, while both anima and animus reside within all humans as part of their psyche's complementary opposites, they express themselves differently based on their symbolic gendered traits. Here are some fundamental distinctions. Aspect anima, feminine energy. Aspect animus, masculine energy. So the aspect is symbolizes, right? So it symbolizes feminine qualities. The anima symbolizes feminine qualities. The animus symbolizes masculine qualities. All right, everyone? So we all have feminine and masculine qualities in our psyche. All of us. All of us. This is on a this is psychological, but you know, we know that we have, in society we have roles, and I kind of went on to talk about like those roles or those norms, I should say, that it's like there's kind of like a gray area, or like it branches off into like societal norms, but getting away from that, we're going to go back to psychologically, okay? Back to Jungian um explanation, what he explains. So the anima symbolizes feminine qualities in your psyche. The animus, masculine qualities in a woman's psyche. By the way, this is the anima is only in the male psyche. The animus is only in the woman's psyche. dominant in men. There it goes. The anima is dominant in the man's mind. That's his unconscious feminine mind. The animus is dominant in the woman's mind. That's her unconscious masculine mind. The primary attributes of the anima are emotion. And we know the neurobiology, it's in that women are wired, their brains are wired to be we're wired to be more emotional, right? So, primary attributes in the anima. This is in your male mind. This is to all the men listening. It doesn't matter what your sexual preference is. You have a masculine mind with a feminine psyche present in your masculine mind, or I should say psyche. And this is an archetype according to Carl Jung. Basically, in your mind as a male, in your conscious mind, you have feminine, unconscious mind. Okay? Emotion is one of those feminine attributes, or one of those feminine characteristics that you should really tap into and focus on. Intuition, nurturing. Okay? That's the female. Now, women, ladies, doesn't matter your sexual preference, I should say. You have an animus, which is basically a way to say your male psyche. It is logic, assertiveness, not aggressiveness, assertiveness. Like you know how we can't decide, like, oh, I want both pairs of shoes. I like the glittery ones and also like the ones with the straps. That is not assertiveness. You got to pick one. Logic, assertiveness, analytical thinking. Okay? That is the male mind. That is the animus within your female mind. Psychological role in the anima for the men connects to your feelings and your creative imagination. Now, hold sidebar. Men will say, I was having a conversation with our guest, a sister, Dr. Moten, and I said, men have emotions, and society has beaten men down to a bloody pulp when they admit that they have feelings and that things bother them, especially. Like, it's okay for men to say, oh, I'm so happy, bro. My team won. Yay. Oh, yeah, he's happy. But so many people get uncomfortable when a man is sad. He doesn't even have to be crying. Oh, come on, bro. Come on, suck it up. Even in Spanish, there's a Mexican saying when guys get down and sad, they say, no mames, way. That's Mexican Spanish. They say, no mames, way. So it means like, stop being like, don't be a crybaby. Like, stop being a mom, like a mama's boy. See the things we have? So when we talk about males and emotion, society, if you take anything away from this, when I'm talking about dispelling misandry and dispelling misogyny, I want you to take this away. Please hear me out. And I'll try to repeat this throughout the rest of this live. We must stop making men feel bad for feeling bad. We must stop making men feel bad for falling in love. We must stop telling men that if they are in love or if they love someone too much, meaning even a child, not an object. Notice society's okay, like, oh, he sure loves his car. Oh, he sure loves his shoes. That boy loves his baseball card collection. But once we say, oh, he really loves that girl, he treats her so well, there's always some guy like Yara coming in. Better not show her that you love her. You better not let her run you. That's the problem with us. Okay? So we need to let men embrace their anima We need to stop being such a toxic society and have men being terrified of being emotional. Men having to, if they do cry over something that hurts them, like if a man gets his feelings hurt by something that is said to him, people call him a punk. Even though he is a living, breathing, interacting organism. We are probably the only species that shames our actual male counterparts or the males of the species. We shame them for being alive and reacting to something that has affected them emotionally. The only way a man can cry, I was going to say, is if he says, I'm angry crying, or I'm so mad, I'm crying because I'm mad. No, men cry because they're sad. Men experience heartbreak. Men experience grief. Okay. My father was in my life, lived with me my whole childhood, and was at the same home where I grew up until the day he passed away, right? My father, I saw him cry 2 times in my entire life. Was it 2? No, wait. 1, 2, yes. He cried because my uncle, at my uncle's funeral, and then when he did cry though, he made a he winced, like he was like really frowning and trying to cover his face. And then the other time was at another funeral. I don't need to exactly say what, but I never saw my father cry because he was taught it's not manly. So I digress. And my rest in power to my daddy. I love him so much. He's excellent father. Excellent. And I have an excellent mother too. But anyway, I'm sure all of you feel the same about your parents who have raised you. Okay, so the primary attribute of anima in men is emotion, intuition, nurturing. Now, remember when I said that this also it's not just about your tapping into these particular characteristics of your own psyche, it's also it's your ideal woman in your mind, because there's all different types of there's a different, how do you say, makeup. Like you might say, okay, I like a woman who gives this much emotion or shows this much emotion. I like a woman who has this much intuition. I like a woman who nurtures this much and nurtures in this, and all of it in different ways, right? So that's you as a male. Your ideal woman is actually like almost like it's manifesting. She manifests herself through you. But remember, I said there's a toxic side that you may have seen a toxic woman and learned traits that you also act out that type of behavior. Yeah, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna get back on you, Yara. I gotta use you on this. You are one of those brothers that I can tell you picked up toxic feminine traits, and you have those behaviors. Okay. Now, I am more than happy to say emphatically that I too have picked up toxic male traits. Guess how I picked them up? In the debating scene. Toxic male traits. I'm not a male. The toxic male traits that I've picked up, believe it or not, are saying things to hurt people's feelings. That's not ideally something that I want to do. Saying things to hurt people's feelings. You say, no, that's what women do. I'm a woman, but on the panels, the toxic males that I interact with have said things to hurt my feelings. You get what I'm saying? So I learned that toxic male behavior on panels. But guess what? You're right. That toxic male that's doing that learned it from a toxic female. It's so complex and intricate, the details of it, but it's very compelling. Get it? It's very compelling information. So, Yara, your toxic feminine traits that you do, like name calling me and telling me, oh, you're just a dumb woman, basically, you learned that from a female. So it's now to me a male trait that I picked up from a panel because I learned it from males. I didn't learn it from a female. So it's kind of like, it's like, how do you say? It transfers, but I, at its core, yes, it's female. I will acquiesce to that. It is a female trait, but I learned it from the toxic males who are on the panel. So I digress, but I just wanted to be just totally transparent and forthcoming, saying, yes, I have picked up toxic traits from males off of these panels, which is a whole different dynamic that hasn't even been studied in psychology. Like I'm talking about cyber bullying and toxic interaction. That's not even, science hasn't even scratched the surface on that. But I think you understand what I'm saying. So let's get back to these aspects, anima versus animus. Psychological role. Well, for anima and men, anima should, your feminine side should connect you to feelings and creative imagination. Yes, you can tap into, you don't have to ignore your feelings. See, when I talk about being on panels, me having better information than you should not trigger you to be aggressive and toxic. It should, and when I say toxic, I mean name calling. It shouldn't, as a man. As a man, if I say something to you like, no, you're wrong, there is a difference between the male brain and the female brain, and then I bring this compelling information, your emotion shouldn't manifest itself as what you saw your auntie do, or your mommy, like, well, I don't care anyway, you didn't, nigga, you ain't smart, no, you shouldn't go into that. You should tap into I'm coining this term, your clean, exclusively male emotion. And your exclusively male emotion would be what you, hear me out, y'all. Whatever you think the most ideal woman, how she would respond, that is how you should respond. I'm talking about when you're triggered. Y'all, I don't mean 3 snaps up. I'm talking about when you want to get aggressive and then go into the toxic feminine name calling. You have to dial back as a male, tap into your anima, which is your nurturing ideal woman, right? Whatever you think that the ideal woman would do. She wouldn't come back like, well, F you then. She would come back with, well, okay, that makes sense. Being receptive, right? Because they didn't put receptive on this list. She'd be receptive to learning, or, oh, I see. Okay, I get it. And this isn't about bowing down or submitting. Those words aren't a part of this conversation. It's being receptive, being open-minded, nurturing, not vicious and aggressive, which is your male, that's your male psyche, and then pulling out your toxic effeminate side, which is you're going to read me and tell me all about how I'm this and that, and I'm bald headed and I want to be a man, and get it. So, all right. And with the woman, logic, assertiveness, and analytical thinking. So with me, let me use myself or as a woman, right? If I'm presented with something that I'm clearly wrong about, Yara, you still have not yet done that for me. But some people have, just you haven't. But if I'm on a panel with someone who clearly presents something that I say, oh, I was wrong about, I did that with King J, I think. It was somebody that I said, oh, Rakufu, bingo. Once I was on a panel with Rakufu, and he said something about Shem, Japheth, and Ham. And I was like, I was adamant about it. I was like, no, that is wrong. You're the wrong one. And he went and got the information. I was like, oh, you're right. I was in my logic. My logic. I was in my logic at that time because remember, I'm already a nurturer as a woman. I'm naturally, psychologically and neurobiologically, I'm naturally a nurturer, right? I'm naturally empathic, right? But if a man presents to me like, okay, you're wrong. And I'm like turning back flips and I'm like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. And then I find out, oh, well, he did present the information. So I'm logical. I have to be logical. I have to be like, logically, I can't refute this. But guess what? A lot of men on these panels don't. They just totally don't even use their logic. That's a different conversation. So moving right along. The psychological roles, I said, connects to feelings and creativity for men. And for women, it connects to ideas, convictions, and action. Behavioral impact, sensitivity to others' needs, vulnerability. Oh, that's a tough one especially for Black men. Black men have very good reason to not want to be vulnerable, but there's so much reward in being vulnerable to the right people in the right settings. Okay. Do not be vulnerable to someone who is working against you or to destroy you, right? You don't want to be in a destructive environment where many Black males are. I'm not just saying, which is obvious about like gang violence and stuff. I'm talking also about being in the workplace with people who discriminate against them. And also women, obviously, of color have that issue. But males, Black males, I'd say especially have it the worst. And not just worse than women, Black women, but the worst. They have it the worst over across the board. Women, Black women, Asian men, Asian women, they have it the worst. Okay. So I'm not saying that you should be vulnerable. You have to be wise. Don't be vulnerable in settings where you know that things are against you. But you could be very sensitive and empathic in even in a situation where you're dealing with like a situation with race discrimination, right? When I say sensitive and empathic, I don't mean you have to be loving on them, but you can take a step back and go, okay, this guy probably has never been around any Black people, and he's been functioning in this prejudiced way, harming my people, of course. So I'm not going to take this personally. I'm going to step back and I'm just going to maneuver around this person and I'm going to protect myself. There. That is your anima. That's your feminine side that you tapped into instead of, I'm ready to fight, like that would be male. And that wouldn't work in that situation. You're still a male, but I'm saying you're tapping into your anima. So with women in the behavioral aspect of it, the behavioral impact would be that she's confident. She has the ability to defend beliefs. Now, this is something right here. Your animus. I talked about the men and the effeminization. I went into that. So I want to go into women now. In society, I mentioned that women, especially Black women, are not protected. It's a very volatile, dangerous environment overall, world environment I'm talking about, where because women are typically physically weaker than men. And so we have that, a lot of violence toward women. And we have, with Black women, we have men who have um, s- s- set themselves as the arch nemesis of their own counterpart, of their own race, so to speak. So Black men have waged war on Black women, and they say it's a reaction because they're so tired of how women get everything and they've been trying so hard. Okay, got it. So now they've waged war on the Black woman. They tell her she should not receive any support. In fact, let me read some stuff to you about women. Women, when if you talk to a woman, no woman would say, I don't want to embrace my femininity. There's not one single woman that would say that if you really get to know her. But there are so many women, especially in Black community, who are not afforded that luxury. It's a luxury now to embrace their femininity. They have to fight for themselves financially. They have to fight for themselves physically. They have to fight for themselves in intellectual forums, like as far as workplace. They are fighting alone. So when the Black man says, "Well, I would like for her to embrace her feminine," because the Black woman is now seen as cocky because she's had to take her animus to another level, the confidence and the assertiveness, where it's starting to also, it becomes toxic aggressiveness because women are afraid. Women are vulnerable to in they're left out, uncovered, basically. They are uncovered. They don't have any hedge surrounding them, Black women. They have no male support, little if I shouldn't say no. Let me take that back. There's some beautiful brothers out there. So I'd say in general, there is a very significant amount of Black males who not only don't support Black women, but they stay night and day bashing Black women, attacking their looks, attacking them as women, their bodies types. If they have nice bodies, calling them whores if they are body conscious. Um, s- um, they're talking about how they are single moms, even though it takes two to make babies, saying they're horrible parents, even though they're the parents that are present. So this has instilled a type of fear in women. And so when we talk about the positive, the healthy embracing of the animus, which would be to have confidence, self confidence, yes, but in society, many women have been, because of the environment, they have become extremely aggressive, always wanting to physically fight, always physically fighting, um, uh, just posturing as if they can do something that they know they can't. And I'm starting to do a more digging deep because I've been watching these shows like, Black Girl Gone, Twisted Crimes, and I'm like, why are all these Black women just being destroyed, unalived by their husbands and their boyfriends? And I'm starting to see that it is because of the posturing, possibly. Um, I'm not justifying any man putting his hands on a woman or unaliving a woman. There's something wrong, very, very deeply wrong. And those men should be separated from society. But I digress. So I know I'm starting to suspect that these women have put on this aggressive posturing in certain probably domestic situations where they were actually afraid. And like if a man has threatened them, they never learned from a woman that when a man is physically threatening toward you, you don't ramp it up and try to match his energy. That would that's that's a recipe for disaster. So I think that a lot of women are being unalived and harmed and unalived because they're afraid. When they're afraid, they jump into that very aggressive masculine posturing, which is, as I said, disastrous. Disastrous, right? So, um, I want to get into what men can do and what women can do to, keep the peace and try to balance. But anyway, I'm almost done with this. I'm almost done with this, you guys. Let's see here. Let me see something. Okay, good. All right. So, let me finish reading this and then I'll be done. So, the role of anima, I got that part right. Okay, we were going through this so behavioral impact, sensitivity to others' needs, vulnerability for the male, the anima, and confidence, ability to defend beliefs. That would be the feminine, the animus. Well, for the woman, not the feminine. That's the masculine energy. Shadow side, moodiness, irrationality when unintegrated. Um, oh yeah, so this is kind of the toxic side that I talked about. So see, with me, I said it's like you tap into the epitome of what an ideal woman, like the ideal woman, right? If you're a man, you tap into that action. And for a woman, you'd say, like what would Superman do? So, but this talks about, I guess, okay, with him, with Young, he's he says, now this still could be your ideal woman because you don't just want like a fembot, right? You want somebody with again the balance. Sometimes she's unhappy, sometimes she's moody, sometimes she's irrational and unintegrated. So, you know, that can still be something that a man is attracted to, believe it or not. I like when you pout, or I like when you just you just, even though we're arguing, you say the silliest, funniest things that just don't make any sense. But I know it's just the way you are and it's so attractive. So yeah, it still can be your ideal woman and your ideal man. Aggression or dogmatism when unintegrated. Now, this is where we got uh with Yara again. I'm using him as my example because he's the one who this and that we're going to have our the brother minister Jap on later, but mostly Yara sparked this because he's always calling me, like bringing out, like trying to put women down, and then saying I want to be that I'm manly because I'm on the panels matching the energy that is on the panel. I match his energy, I should say. Archetypal figures, mother, maiden, muse. See, that's exactly what your muse is. Your ideal woman. Your mother is your ideal woman, right? The maiden is the woman of your dreams that you want to, the innocent, beautiful uh wife, virgin bride that you want to ravage, right? And then that's for men. So that's your anima. That's your archetypal figure. For women, father, warrior, and sage, like a very wise man. Ironically, Yara calls himself Black Sage, but got a long way to go, brother. So let me finish this off here. Understanding these differences help individuals recognize which archetype they might be over identifying with or denying with them within themselves. So Freud, sorry, not Freud, Carl Jung is like, you might be over identifying with this particular archetype, your anima if you're a man, or you might be denying yourself. So I'm talking from the perspective that you're denying yourselves, right? When I'm doing this particular stream. But I think Jung would mean over identifying, meaning you're being a little bit too effeminate. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that. But we talked about that. Effeminization is never, it's always toxic. So I'm saying, when I say feminization, I mean making a male feminine or have overly feminine traits. There you go. Overly feminine traits would be effeminized or effeminate, I should say. Effeminate, yes. How anima and animus energies manifest in everyday life. Well, manifestations of anima energy. Now, this is in men. A heightened sense of empathy toward others. This is why I'm saying we need to dispel misandry and dispel misogyny. If you have a heightened sense of empathy toward others, you're basically breaking that belief. You're breaking the belief within yourself because you're focusing on your feminine side and you're consciously saying, I'm tapping into my unconscious feminine, consciously saying, this is a feminine attribute. You will not be able to hate something that you relate to. You will not be able to blame everything bad on something that you relate to. I got to drop a bomb for myself on that one. Indulge me. Let me get a bomb for that. When you tap into your feminine side or your masculine side, you won't be able to hate vice versa, male or female, right? Male or female, vice versa. Okay, so here's another thing in men when they manifest their anima energy, when they tap into it. A strong capacity for emotional expression. Emotional expression is not the only emotion that men are basically allowed to express without being called sissified is anger, and that's it. Anger. But if you have a capacity for emotional expression other than anger, and I forgot, anger and happiness. Those are the only two. But if you can express emotions when you're feeling vulnerable in the right setting, then you've tapped into your anima and you are relating in a feminine way, which will go a long way with women. If you are a heterosexual man and you want to have a very healthy working relationship with a heterosexual woman, tap into your emotional expression, not the anger, not the anger. I'm talking about, let her know that this makes me sad. It really makes me sad when you do this. Now, if you're with a toxic person who will use that against you, then you should find out why, work that out, or move on. Now, another way you can manifest your anima energy can manifest as a male is you will have a deep connection to dreams or symbolic imagery. Inclination toward artistic or creative activities. Experience see how women, by the way, inclination toward artistic and creative activities, women love musicians and women love artists. They love them because they can relate. They relate to the feminine side. Experiences of mood swings linked to unconscious anima influences. Yeah, you might get depressed, but you will be able to realize, not you may get, men get depressed. Or maybe men get, they get pouty, and that's not one of my favorite things. But if it's not like overly always doing then fine. He has a right to be quiet and be to himself. He has a right to, you know, be cranky when he's hungry. That's usually why. Or when he's sick, he taps into that little moody, I don't feel good. And then you baby them. See? Most of the time, a woman who loves a man is not going to respond to him being like, I don't feel good and cranky over being sick. She's not going to be like, I don't care. She's gonna be like, "Oh, okay, honey, here's some tea, lay down, I'll do." So, if you're in a relationship with someone's like, "You too bad," then you should rethink the whole situation if you cannot get that person to maybe change that and be more, understanding and tap into her feminine side, which would be nurturing. Anyway, attraction to idealized female figures or muses in relationships. Attraction to idealized female figures or music. So that's when I was saying, remember I talked about the toxic, effeminate side? That's remember when I read the part where he says too much? So, yes, you're going to have an idealization of some woman in your life, your mother, your grandmother, your big sister, maybe a good friend. But when you start mimicking their behavior, now you've taken it to a toxic side of you've effeminized yourself. You're effeminate. So there's a balance. You can idealize women and muses in relationships, but you should not start to try to become them. You want to, in your anima, you want to manifest this energy as your male self. It is still masculine psyche, but it has the archetype like a sub psyche so much. It's not even a psyche, it's like a sub, like characteristics. The archetype is like a sub psyche, kind of like an unconscious psyche. But I'm going off the rails again. Basically, you want to still stay in your masculinity, but consciously tap into your unconscious mind, which is your archetype, which is your anima, which is your ideal woman. See? You tap into what would my mother do? Not when a situation arises, don't always be like, I want to act like what would do. Tap into what mom might do. But sadly, don't hold on. Some of you already do that, and because you've been raised with mothers who have been toxic, have a very masculine, out of fear and out of being uncovered and with no protection and they've been unstable. So you think, oh, I want to act like with mom. So don't do that. I scratch that. Try to think about what would Shahrazad Ali do if you don't have, um, that particular woman in your life. Okay. In women, when anima energy is active, what does that say? Wait, that's not what it is. I think they meant animus energy. Oh, okay. So they're saying, okay, I didn't even know this. So young, I thought that anima was only for women, for men. Hmm. Somebody's going off the rails on this article. So anima is exclusively in an archetype in males. Animus is an archetype in females. Okay, but it says right here, when anima energy is active, what does this mean in women? Increased receptiveness and emotional openness. I think they're still talking about men. Strong nurturing instincts toward others. creative inspiration arising from inner wellspring. So these are just feminine traits. So remember, somebody wrote this, and it's kind of confusing right here to me. So let's go to the manifestations of animus energy, which is the male archetype. I mean, the male psyche within, scratch that, the male characteristics within the female psyche. So in women, strong opinions about social or political issues. This is something that I definitely tap into. Assertive communication style, something that everybody knows that I tap into, and a lot of women, not just me. But we have to have a balance, right? See, because don't forget, on panels, when I'm just doing that, like I'm doing right now, I have certain males that are intimidated by my information and my intelligence level. And then they become toxic toward me because they mistakenly equate their masculinity with their intelligence level. And your masculinity should not be equated with your how intelligent you are. Masculinity, intelligence doesn't equal masculinity. But for them, in their misogynistic, chauvinistic minds, and those beliefs, that's what it is. Your masculinity equals your intelligence. Because these forums have so long been male dominated, and it's been a male space that they've had male bonding for so long. So now that women are seldom do women do this, but women enter these forums, these debate forums, and more women are doing it, thank goodness. But then they see it as this is our space, because that's what Yara is like. Women should know their place. You don't know your place, boy. You don't sit down somewhere. And I say boy, not as a derogatory thing, but just like, it's like, what? I'm not calling him a boy. All right. Manifestation of animus energy, strong opinions about social or political issues. Those are definitely things that those are traits that characteristics that debaters possess. Assertive communication style. A good debater must possess that. Desire for independence and leadership roles. Now, that could be a slippery slope, because this can be right here when I talked about women in society being left to be with no hedge, no covering, no protection, unstable, no support. The leadership role and the independence has become toxic. Intellectual confidence, critical thinking skills. Again, something that really works when you're a teacher and a debater and an intellectual in life and in these forums. Attraction toward idealized masculine figures. Definitely. That's easy for women. In men, see, this is the part I don't get. Okay, so in men, so I guess they're saying that animus energy is in men, but the animus is not in men, according to Jung. Not from not from I have some books I can pull out and actually go into the archetypes, but maybe I never interpreted correctly. But this article is saying in men, oh, I get it. Boom. Coconut just dropped in my head. Oh, I'm going to go back now, y'all. I got it. So it isn't saying that anima is in women. I'm going back. It says in women, when your anima energy is active, that's supposed to say in men, though, right? What? Wait. Wait a minute. I lost it just like I had it. Okay. In women, I don't know. Maybe I thought they were saying in men, when your anima energy is active, You have increased receptiveness and emotional openness. You have strong nurturing instincts toward others. I think that is what it's supposed to say. This is not, I think they messed up because I think it's supposed to say in men, when you do activate your anima energy, you will have increased receptiveness and emotional openness. As a man, you will have strong nurturing instincts toward others as a man, and you will have creative inspiration arising from inner wellspring as a man. Yes, that's what it's supposed to say. And then here it says it should say in women with active animus energy, you will be goal driven and have goal driven behavior with strategic planning. You won't be all flighty. You will, if you are a woman who's activated your animus energy, you will have a need for control or dominance in situations. As a woman, you should have rational decision making, overriding emotional input. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna let this stop. I'm gonna stop this right here. Let me maybe drop the link in the chat. There's some things in this I don't really like though, so I'm not gonna drop the link because like I didn't understand that part, but I think you get the gist of it. We all have a male mind, a male psyche, and a female psyche. Okay, let me read some of these comments. Buenos tardes. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes, Muad'Dib. Good afternoon. You put it's buenas tardes, but that's great. Now you know. But that's very kind of you. I like that. The Spanish. Necesitamos practicar español. Okay. So feelings is feminine. No, feelings are not always feminine. That's the point. Like males have feelings, but like tapping into those emotions is a feminine trait, like a feminine characteristics. You don't worry about that. I know that thing that said emotional, like emotions. Um. Oh dang. All right, let me finish looking at this. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Anyway, I have a delivery. I think you were talking about balance in males and females. Yes, I am. Okay, so anyway. Anyway, señoritas y señoritos. There's no such thing as a señorito. That would be actually probably not a nice thing to call a man a señorito. But anyway, that's all I wanted to share. And hit the like button. Keep it. Just letting you know we're going to keep going with this. Dispelling the misandry and the misogyny. So the misandry would be where women are, women are abusive, aggressively abusive, with violence and verbally abusive. But again, I'm going to tell you, when I'm on these panels, if some man is attacking me and telling me to shut up and talking under my clothes, that's toxic. And remember, women who are aggressive back, it's because they have fear. And I'm going to be honest, usually, yeah, it's like a posturing. You know how you say bluff? Like you ain't like, and the worst thing a woman can say to a man in a heated, very volatile, possibly violent situation is you ain't going to do nothing. Then he feels like you're testing his manhood. So then he feels like he has no choice. But if he taps into his feminine side, then it'll be a different outcome. And if she could tap into her logical mind, her male side, not the aggressive, testosterone driven. See, we got to talk about testosterone in another stream and how it's affecting women as well. But That's it. That's all I want to do. I just want to get this out here. Hopefully, y'all will be in the house tonight for the smoke session. All right, my loves. Peace to the darkest minds, light to the HOK Coliseum, to HOK family. And I will talk to you soon. I'm going to play a song for you. I'm going to play my song. My song. Damn, he already took it off. What in the world? What in the world is going on here? I just played it. Didn't I just play my song? Let me try it. Here it is. That is not it. Sonnetter came in here and he cannot stop meddling. I got to tap into my masculine mind. No, actually, I'm tapping into my feminine mind for this. So yeah, I'm glad I thought that, because sometimes as a male, obviously you're going to always have you're not going to tap into it. You always are going to have a male masculine functioning mind. And so as a female, you're going to have a feminine functioning mind. And that is, yeah, that is it. Yep, that's what happens. Okay, so I'm confused. I don't understand why. I don't want to blame Sonnetter. Maybe it just didn't take, but I'm going to download my song again and play it. The hate that hurts me, hurts us. All right, here it is. Peace, everybody. I'm going to upload this. Hit the like button. Yeah. Okay. Here it comes. But anyway, yeah, tonight I'm doing another smoke session. I hope you enjoyed the one last night. I couldn't be there for the whole time, but Sonnetter held it down. Peace and love.
It's me like Diamond, the 33 vertebra, up the spinal curvature to the pineal merkaba that spins in my head and spread off the tongue and rhyme skills onto a vinyl circular. Became instant lords on liquid swords, the Bible determiner, the idol interpreter, the cycle of eartheners. I am Lord your God for worshipers, Merkaba. I ran out of room, I'm leaving the womb. I feel like I'm dying, I'm crying. Am I being pushed to my doom? I'm fading into life, draining from her waters, swimming, naming him Walter. Now I'm bathing in her light. I altered on the altar, the day walker, flaming into the night like fireworks that's vibrating 528 hertz. It's raining, the vibranium is ultra bright. Above my cranium, stars are shooting over. Nibiru exposure, meteor showers, supernovas. The meeting I supposed to write. Walking through the fire that was cold as ice. Poltergeist took a glimpse into infinity. Saw a blimp that flashed my memories. The airport was empty. A rare quartz Da Vinci. My pen leads symphonies. You'll all perceive eventually. The orchestra of the August love in the orbits as a foreigner from the corners. Now she's in the forest with doves. Near lakeside, the waters with suds. Are you able to withstand quicksand on a remote island in the Bermuda Triangle during Mercury retrograde? But I'm verbally electro waves that echoes for days. Age, 1 foot in the threshold and 1 foot in the grave. Peaceful, I settle over the metal like sage. God switchblade for any witch or devil I made. I'll carve them up in 7 ways. The carbon dust, fluorescent rays. Placed them in a garden plush after 7 days. The parsing.
Blood and flesh is always so expensive, but when you sacrifice the body, you can get this. The consciousness expanse is exponential, while your union is eternal and intensive. Butterfly effect is so connected. You see that I'm a wreck, are you affected? Your energy is here, you're so detected. ignore them when they call. Thought I saw you in a shadow on the wall. Is that you? I see you standing down the hall. If I could turn back time, I would and make it stall. Help me focus, hold me up, don't let me fall. You are with me. You are with me. Couldn't leave you if I wanted to. Can't you see I wanna stay with you? You are with me. You are with me. Couldn't leave you if I wanted to. Can't you see I wanna stay with you? You are with me. You are with me. Baby, I wanna stay with you. Baby, I wanna stay with you. You are with me. You stay with me. Couldn't leave you if I wanted to. Eternally, I'm gonna stay with you. I'm gonna stay with you. Stay with you. 'Cause you are with me. You are, you stay with me. The angels in the sky.